this is how much money are Chinese willing to pay in order to just get a wife, to get married, no matter there is no love involved. And the sum is a total of just the dowry, 388,000 renminbi, more or less like 53,000 USD, as the bride price to just offer anyone able to marry them, not taking in consideration other costs as the wedding, party, etc. So there is this story of a special county in China, which I want to share with you all today. Please be my guest, listen to the story, and be free to comment down below, especially if you have some experience regarding these issues, It had been 4 or 5 years since I last returned home for the Spring Festival. Finally, back to the year of the snake. I was struck by how much my hometown had changed. My hometown is a small county in Jiangxi province. Not even a 4th-tier city, more like a 5th or a 6th-tier city. Recently, it made headlines on the social media because of a local matchmaking show. The villages here face a severe gender imbalance. Oh, really? This is what I have been telling you guys about this gender imbalance. And how here, at least in Mexico, it's just total opposite. We have too many females for very less males. And not taking in account that many are also gay, so you have very few left, like available males. Okay, recently it made the headlines on social media because of a local matchmaking show. The villages here face a severe gender imbalance, with far more men than women. During the New Year holiday, finding a wife through matchmaking becomes the top priority for many young men. Okay, so it's not even enjoying the holiday or the Spring Festival with their families and loved ones. It's just, let's go down to business and get the wife, get the marriage done, no matter who, as long as she, has a womb to procreate, that'll be fine. I returned home the day before New Year's Eve. There wasn't much to do. I didn't need to help with housework or cooking as everything was already prepared. Although I wanted to pitch in, my parents wouldn't let me. In their eyes, even after marriage, I'm still their child. In China, sometimes they overprotect children. On the 3rd day back, New Year's Day, seeing that I was bored, my parents gave me a special task: help oversee matchmaking meetings for my 2 younger female cousins. My cousins, Ali, the older one, and Hong, the younger one. Both have limited education and work in big cities. True, they are only 21 and 22 guys. Like 21 and 22 years old. Their parents are anxious and won't let them marry far from home. Okay, so they are super anxious for them to get married, but they also want to arrange where will they get married, at what age will they get married, how will they get married. It's like, oh my God, it's pure pressure and nonsense, They want to take advantage of their golden age to find good matches. So the girls came home for the holiday to participate in arranged meetings. Their experiences offer a glimpse into the current state of dating and marriage in rural areas and small towns. Section 1. Rural Jiangxi matchmaking observations. 7 or 8 men lined up in one day. On New Year's Day, the girl, made her debut. Early in the morning, young men were already lined up for matchmaking interviews. The queue stretched all the way to the edge of the field, with matchmakers and suitors alike. Ali basic profile, she's above average in looks, about a 6 out of 10. Okay. Consider a village beauty. Although she didn't finish middle school, she went to work in Hangzhou early on. She hadn't been home for the New Year's in several years. So when the matchmakers from local and neighboring villages heard she was back, they brought many eligible young men to meet her. When I visited Ali's home, 2 or 3 matchmakers had brought 7 or 8 young men to be considered. The matchmakers had already screened them based on Ali's criteria. Only those met the criteria basic requirements were allowed to queue. I wonder how are these matchmakers making, you know? The first candidate was a recent discharged soldier, standing tall at over 185 cm, which is a meter and 85, which is quite tall, with excellent posture and a strong military bearing. Ali was immediately interested, constantly winking at me as if to say, "This one is not bad." I smiled and told her, "He seemed to match what you're looking for." Talk to him. Unexpectedly, they quickly got into an argument over the bride price. Though he had found a formal job in the country after leaving the military, his monthly salary was only about 3,000 yuan. Oh my god, that's quite little. So 3,000 yuan, it's about... Guys, help me with this one. With his military mindset, he insisted on following county town standards for the bride price rather than rural standards. So there are county, rural, cosmopolitan, first tier, second tier standards for the bride price. Okay, he insisted on following county town standards for the bride price rather than rural standards, a difference of about 100,000 yuan. Ali was equally stubborn, and with neither willing to compromise, I had to step in to mediate. The meeting ended up abruptly. The second candidate, so how much did he wanted? He didn't say here, didn't state how much was the bride price he will offer. But as far as we know his salary is 3,000 yuan, which I consider it quite low, you know. His monthly salary, okay, it's in another job after he left the military, but it's just very little. Not in Mexico. Not even in Mexico you can survive nowadays with this salary. Of course, it depends from town to town, but it's very hard to make it with this little money. The second candidate owned a hair salon in Guangzhou and had started working right after middle school. Oh my god. He had achieved some business success, but Ali, perhaps influenced by her time in the big city, was concerned about his educational level. She pulled me aside and whispered, "His education is too low. Even a vocational school graduate would be better." Deep down, Ali felt that, while she had beauty, her own education was lacking. She hoped a better educated partner might help improve the genes. Oh my god. These girls are smart compared to many girls over here in Latin America, where they don't think about the genes of their children at all, and they just let these rusties, many of them, come into the bodies and have babies with them after they run away, and they're just single mothers, and these men should not be considered to be having children in the world even, you know. The third candidate had a bachelor's degree from a prestigious 1211 Radcliffe University and worked in an IT and a small internet company in Hangzhou, a proper small town academic success story by local standards. However, his family situation was poor. With an older and younger brother, construction workers' parents with no pension, and the current real estate downturn affecting their work, he would eventually need to support his aging parents, which is the burden of many, you know. Therefore, so many girls ask for a house in order to at least have some time away from the parents, because otherwise they might end up being just together forever since the beginning of their marriage until the last breath of their parents. And some of them want to have their own independency as a wife, as a woman of the house, and I totally get them. So in this case, this was poor, and the parents were construction workers with no pension, and he will need to support his aging parents. Housing prices in Hangzhou are expensive. True, he was well educated, he was socially awkward and struggled with conversation. Okay, now we have a nerd that doesn't socialize, so that's like, ew, oh my god. I mean, it's just very hard to find the perfect, yeah? Mr. One. After several years working and renting in Hangzhou without finding a partner, he had to return home from matchmaking. Yet, his prestigious education and big city tech job made him somewhat proud. With high standards for women's looks, he wouldn't consider ordinary village girls. Okay. Having heard about Ellie's return, he had arranged this meeting through matchmakers days in advance. Oh my god. This is just so hilarious. I would like to go to China and just be like, I want to be in a matchmaking event. It's so hilarious. So he was working and renting in Hangzhou without finding a partner. The meeting was awkward. Again, they had almost nothing to talk about. Great. Perhaps because Ali's limited education put them on a different wavelength. She couldn't understand his work talk. Meanwhile, when Ali asked about buying houses in Hangzhou versus their hometown, he avoided the topic. The meeting ended in an uncomfortable silence. I guess he just avoided because, of course, houses in Hangzhou compared to that county is not even comparable. And these girls want them to have super high paying jobs, super high education. They want them to be like CEOs of IT companies. And whenever you approach these gentlemen and you are not able to comprehend a word or to establish a conversation, a dialogue, then you're in trouble. Like, you want or you aim for that, but you are not up to those levels or standards in order to match for what you want. Girls. Anyways, hopefully I'll be a good match for mine. Okay, this is just very entertaining. As he left, the young man told the matchmaker he was quite attracted to Ali. Perhaps men, regardless of education level, are always drawn to beauty. The matchmaker tried to advocate for him, holding Ali's hand and praising his qualities. Okay, so the young man told the matchmaker he was attracted to Ali, no matter she was not, well educated, but still she was beautiful. So many men will just prefer beauty over anything else because that's what they are attracted to. Ali just shook her head and said, "Yes, his education and appearance met my standards, but his family situation is too poor. With 2 brothers, he won't find a high-paying job like in Hangzhou, and if he returns home." Okay. So basically, she says it's not appealing for her that his family background is poor. With 2 brothers, he won't find a high-paying job like in Hangzhou if he returns home. And if he wants to settle in Hangzhou, his rural parents can't help with even the down payment. The morning passed quickly. After meeting these 3 candidates, Ali was tired and lost interest in the rest. The day ended swiftly. So here we have candidates lining up. On the 4th day, the 2nd day of the lunar year, it was Hong's turn. She too had 7 or 8 young men lined up, with matchmakers from the village and surrounding areas waiting outside early in the morning. To Hong's overall conditions weren't as good as Ali. She was quite picky during the matchmaking process. Okay, the first candidate was tall and thin, from a neighboring village, working in liquor sales in Shanghai with good commission-based income. His parents also worked and ran small business in Shanghai. Okay. Returning home once a year. Hong barely spoke with him before ending the meeting. When asked why, she replied in 6 words: "Big belly and too greasy." It's just hilarious. I really want to make more content like this. It's just like, I laugh at this because I find it hilarious, but I also find it very heartbreaking for guys in China. But give me a break. You guys ended up being in this trouble by yourselves because of the whole country to one child policy. Anyhow, you can come over and find some beautiful Latinas here. The second was a handsome young man from a nearby township who worked with his parents driving long-distance trucks. Though good-looking, he was quiet. Okay, so just recalling, the last one was fat and greasy. Okay, this one was good looking, but he was quiet. Hong talked with him longer, but still came out dissatisfied. When asked why, she shook her head. Truck drivers are never home. Can be counted on for family matters and get into all sorts of trouble on the road. Okay, women are super well trained, you know. I had to agree with Han's opinion on this point. After seeing two candidates, my cousin began losing confidence. The subsequent meetings were brief, with Han finding various faults to justify rejection. The matchmakers were frustrated but persistent, arranging more meetings with Hong's mother for the holiday period. Clearly, there was still a long list of backup candidates. As darkness fell, I left Hong's house after paying my Chinese New Year respects and having dinner. When I got home, my parents asked about the cousins' matchmaking progress. I simply replied, "It's too hard for rural Jiangxi men to find wives." Section 2. Rural marriages without love. 388,000 yuan bride price becomes a standard. Having not been home for 4 or 5 years, I discussed with my parents how difficult and expensive it was become for rural boys to find wives. They signed an agreement. The current situation in our rural hometown is a severe shortage of women, worse than ever this year. Due to traditional son preference, the gender ratio is severely imbalanced. Additionally, girls who leave for education rarely return to their village for marriage, making potential brides extremely rare. Of course, they will find someone suitable there in Shenzhen or elsewhere. In my cousin's two villages, I roughly calculated that during this year of the snakes matchmaking seasons, each eligible woman had several to over 10 male suitors. This has led to a serious consequence. Men have little bargaining power in matchmaking, while women hold absolute control. If the woman agrees, the marriage is typically 80% settled. Getting past the initial meeting is just the first hurdle. The second meeting, the crucial bride price standard in rural Jiangxi. The matchmaker says that for moderately well-off rural families, the bride price has risen again this year, with 388,000 yuan become the baseline. Give me a break. Remember, 388,000 is just the entrance fee, the minimum threshold. Without reaching agreement on this, the matchmaking process stops immediately. Like making a down payment on a house, having 388,000 yuan merely qualifies you to discuss marriage. Without this money, don't even bother trying. And 388,000 is just the beginning. The major expenses come later. A car, at least 100,000 yuan. A house, several hundred thousands. At current county price, by my rough calculation, without at least 1 million yuan, don't even think about marrying a rural Jiangxi girl. Exactly. Section 3. Behind Jiangxi's high bride price is marriage following scarcity creates value. Why are bride prices so high in Jiangxi? The most direct reason is scarcity creates value. Jiangxi ancestral whole clan culture runs deep with serious son preferences, especially in rural areas. Family must have multiple children, must have sons, preferably 2 sons. There is a local saying, your family can be poor as dirt, but you can't be without sons, or you will eventually be bullied and lose whatever wealth you have earned. Even worse, the older generation in our rural areas holds a deep-rooted misconception raising a daughter is losing money. After spending so much to raise her, she becomes someone elder's family member after marriage. Thus, the bride price become a way to compensate for parents' psychological loss. Oh my God. Interestingly, some families demand high bride price not for their daughter's happiness, but to fund their son's future marriage. Some openly admit getting a high bride price for our daughter helps pay our son's marriage. This bride price circulation is common in our rural hometown, with families passing costs along, no one wanting to lose out. Years of this thinking have severely skewed Jiangxi's rural birth-gender ratio. The 7th census shows that in some rural areas, their gender ratio for marriageable ages has reached 118 to 100 or higher. This means there are 118 men competing for every 100 women. Well, it's not that bad, you know. In Mexico, we have more women for very little men. Even more extreme, among 18 and 24-year-olds, 135 young men compete for 100 women. So there will be 35 left, if not more. Meanwhile, in the marriage market, local rural men not only compete among themselves, but also face dimensional warfare from urban men. Many rural Jiangxi women leave for education or work in cities or marry outside the area, further reducing local marriage prospects. With over 100 single men competing for the few remaining local girls, how could prices not be high? Oh my God. And then there's this epilogue. During the Spring Festival homecoming, I witnessed several days of my cousin's failed matchmaking attempts. Before returning to Shanghai, I advised Ali and Hong. Truly outstanding men rarely need matchmaking. Rural men who come for matchmaking usually have some shortcomings. That's so true. Among these many candidates, I think several are quite good. Focus on screening them and get to know them better. My cousin replied with one sentence. Marriage is a lifetime commitment. It's a lifetime commitment, sorry. Better to have no marriage than a bad one. My God, these girls are smart, you know. Witnessing my cousin's Spring Festival matchmaking journey, I recall graduating from college and marrying my wife when we had nothing. She didn't ask for any bride price, and I felt eternally grateful. Now we have a house, a car, savings, but I will never forget my wife's kindness. This story is just amazing, guys. I'm just shocked by the sharpness of these young girls in villages in China asking for this much. And where is love is just not. I mean, they seem to be like us, 40 something plus, just being scanning little details, but they're so young, you know. What are your thoughts regarding this one? I'll read you on the comments down below, and please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, as well as be welcome to support me on my Buy Me a Coffee or PayPal donation or Patreon. Links down below. Kisses.